Don't worry, darling. That's my impression of Edna Mode from The Incredibles. No capes. What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. Olivia Wilde's brand new film, not without its controversy. Don't Worry, Darling is now in theaters, but should you worry about it? Darling? No. This movie's all about a 1950s housewife and her husband who are living in a utopian experimental community, but he begins to worry that his glamorous company could be hiding disturbing secrets. This film is rated R for sexuality, violent content, and language. Not the most family-friendly film, but it is one I think could be fun with a crowd. Olivia Wilde's last film, Booksmart, was one that I was so surprised by. It was one of my favorite movies of that year, so I was clearly pumped for this one. And who wasn't pumped, right? Harry Styles, Florence Pugh, my God, Chris Pine. I almost said Chris Evans. Oops. I think I even had it on my list of honorable mentions to get a Best Picture nomination. It's one of those movies that just had the talent behind and in front of the camera, and we'll get into my final thoughts on this one, but I want to start out with what really worked about it, and what really worked is the obvious thing, and that's Florence Pugh. She's giving, as she always is, a fantastic performance. She is conveying so much, and that could partially be because she has a lot to work with here, right? This character, she feels like something is off. This is one of those movies where you're in this perfect world, this perfect setting. Everything seems to be going as it should be going, but there's always going to be one or two characters that feels as if they should not be there, and there's actually something going on behind the scenes. And everything I just said is riding on Florence Pugh's shoulders to convey to us, right? She's scared at times. It's that haunting feeling, but she also has to fit in. And anytime that intense and disturbing feeling comes, it's up to her to present that to us and make us feel that fear, but also make us feel comfortable, because this is a very comfortable world. Everything looks perfect. I think visually, this movie does exactly what it needs to do. It presents to us that everything that they are working towards, and Chris Pine's character says it in this movie, what they are, motivated and inspired to do, change the world for the better. What are they doing? What are they changing? We don't know. We're just here for the ride. So building that up through her character was important and impressive. But what are they building up? Well, I can't get into specifics. This is a spoiler-free review, but there are very specific things they have to do throughout the first two acts to continue to get us on board and keep us on board and never allow us to kind of wander off like, okay, they're doing the same thing over and over again. And oftentimes a concept like this, you can repeat yourself. And there are repetitive scenes. There are maybe even repetitive moments in this movie, but each moment serves its purpose, and I appreciated that. I don't think this is the worst direction from Olivia Wilde. I know people are jumping onto her on Twitter in terms of the direction itself. I actually thought this was competently directed. To bring an idea like this to screen, well, it takes a lot of variables, right? You have to have the performances, you have to have the supporting cast along with Florence Pugh, but there are a lot of themes to balance and juggle. And this is a movie that is built on themes, important themes. Sometimes the themes kind of get in the way of presenting us a story that we can latch on to, one that we can piece together in our heads. And there were two options where this movie was going. I think I was halfway through the film, and I'm like, okay, it could end up like this. And I would be very disappointed because that's so not only on the nose, predictable, right? You see exactly where it's going. Sure, you could throw a twist in there, but it's inevitably going to that spot. Or you could do something different and surprise me. You could continue to give these characters growth and development, but push the story forward along with the thematic elements that you're exploring. Don't just focus on one thing. Unfortunately, the movie starts to go in that direction I expected it to go in. And this is personal, right? Not everyone's going to have those expectations. Not everyone's going to predict what I predicted. But just from where I was coming from, even before the movie started, I'm like, oh, this is probably what it's going to be. Let's hope they at least do a twist or two on that concept. And there is a twist presented from Olivia Wilde. Oh, okay, well, that's just That's an idea that we've seen before in different formats. That's an idea that doesn't feel all that original once you start to think about it. And once I was able to process the entirety of the third act in my head, not only did I have numerous questions, but I was also so bummed out because of the potential that this movie had, that it showcased in the first two acts, that it just did not commit to. This is not a movie that commits to exploring what it sets up in the first two acts, and that's why I ultimately landed on the conclusion of this is something that could have worked better as a TV show, as a 6 to 8 episode series, to give us more time with Pugh's character, to give us more time with her and Harry Styles, that relationship, right? Her and Harry Styles, that relationship, that's something that is so integral to what this movie is going for. And we get it. We get those moments. We go back to the same location. We're doing the same thing over and over. But it felt as if we could have used so much more of that and so much more of the backstory and the behind the scenes of what's actually going on here. And what this movie does, it compromises giving us all the answers that we seek as an audience, right? Some of the backstory, certain character motivations, right? One big character that we get a little bit as the movie progresses, but once the movie ends, I'm sitting here like, what happened? Like, what was that character all about? I wanted to know. I didn't know. I still don't know. And that was so disappointing, but most of it had to do with Olivia Wilde focusing so hard in on certain themes that this movie is trying to convey. And I get that, but it compromised the story itself and answering our questions that I still have, right? Build up and motivations that I was so fascinated by in the first two acts. And you know what? Kudos to the movie for getting me that invested. Did a nice job of building everything up. I thought the intensity was great. And like I said, I thought the direction was good, but the script showcases all of those shortcomings in the third act. And I was so disappointed with the finale because there was no finality to it other than one thing that, may have worked. Oh, and the question, of course, how is Harry Styles? Because that clip was going around online, all that stuff. Listen, I love Harry Styles as a performer. There were moments in this movie where I'm like, oh, he's actually doing a great job. There were other moments that just didn't quite work for me. It's that range, right? He's still young as an actor. He's working on it. It's the range that wasn't quite nailed for me, and that was really unfortunate. But there was a scene or two for sure. I'm a Harry Styles fan, okay? It just not on all the way through. Look, before I give you my score, let me know your thoughts down below. Was this a movie that you were really looking forward to? Is it one that nailed it, brought it home? If you want to drop that thumbs up, that would help this video. Don't worry, darling, just isn't able to develop into the thought-provoking experience that it is attempting to be. That being said, there are fascinating moments within the build-up in the first two acts, and Pugh is phenomenal. The culmination of these ideas just isn't satisfying, but the movie itself is entertaining. That's why I'm like, okay, good things, bad things, just not nearly on the level that I needed it to be. I'm going to 60% with my score, right? It's entertainment, but I just had some things script-wise that I think could have been worked on to make this a much better movie. It's just the focus for me, man. The focus needed to be more on the answers and the characters and the story. That's it. That's my review. A little frustration here, but it's just because I wanted this to be better than it was. All right, guys. I'll see you soon.